The wiring is all routed underneath and into the channels that this car provides for wiring to run and screwed in place. Underneath this carpet here, the power wire has this channel that it can run into, and then it will just snake through this piece. Super awesome. The same is true for the signal wire. There's another channel right here that this can come into, go behind, meets up into the factory track, goes underneath into the factory track, and then follows the factory wiring up into the side, up behind the air conditioner. It comes out here into the back of the car. I've already attached the speaker output, soldered my other end in. This is my remote turn on here if I need it. The next step is to do my signal, which will plug into this. As a side note, I also put a zip tie over these two connections. I don't want them to fall apart by any means. What I'm working on now for the signal is I've added in the Audiocontrol green LGD 20 ohm. I've screwed in my harness here. This will screw into the car, but before I do that, I need to make a small panel to mount these two. There's a factory bolt back there that I want to use so that these will be firmly secured into place. They do need a little bit of air because these can get hot. It is a load resistor. And there we have it. The factory nut that I wanted to attach to was right here. We leave their nut and we put our nut on top of it. That way, if we need to pull our piece off, their piece stays in place. The LGDs are mounted over here in the corner. And that brings this whole thing to a conclusion. This is done. The wire's all zip tied up in place. The last thing I have to do is put this side panel on. However, I'm going to wait to put this on until we turn it on and make sure everything works, because it's not particularly hard to get off, but I don't want to have to pull it off if I don't need to. That means it's time to start getting the amplifier all set. We do have one other piece that Fernando is finishing up right now, which is the bass knob. He's running it over. We cut out a piece on the laser for it, which I'll show you, of course, how it looks. Turned out really nice. Very simple, very elegant. But you know what? While we're talking about it, I might as well just show it to you. Otherwise, we'll forget, and you guys in the comments will be like, you didn't show us the bass knob. So for those of you that do have Explorers, there is a little tiny area located here on the side, and it's just enough room to mount your bass knob in. Some of them obviously aren't going to have it. As you can see, like this piece here clips onto the end, so if there's a switch there, then you're out of luck. But if you don't, there is enough room to fit a bass knob. This of course is the ARC3 bass knob, so it has two lights. We added in the new Audiocontrol logo. That'll just go in there. He's getting that all zip tied up, and that is the last physical piece that we have to do other than put the side panels back in. But the stereo at this point is done. Grab my laptop, plug in, start setting up the amplifier, putting in our distances and stuff like that. The first thing you need to do whenever working with a DSP is go out to the website and make sure you have the most current version of the software available to you. A lot of the times these units need updates, won't function properly, and or cause problems if you don't. If you've been working with it for a while, great. Let's look at the setup here. This is the D5 1300, which will pop up and tell you here in the top. If you're setting the DSP, this green light should be on, and this model number should match what you're actually setting up. If it doesn't, stop the software, reset. With all DSPs, the first step is controlling the inputs. In this case, we have front, rear, sub, front, high. That was that high level input. We're not going to use it, so I put not used. We're not using the sub for this either, so I put not used there also. Then I come over to the output. I don't switch to the output yet, I just go to the output and type in what my channels are doing. And that is going to be front, rear, sub, and not used on the line output. The next title I want to add in is memory 1, and I will name that the name of the car that I'm working on. And that's the basic typing setup that needs to be done. On input, I'll switch between my front and rear inputs to see where my dB rating is here. I'm going to set this to -3 to start out with. That way I have a little bit of playroom. It goes all the way up to +12, but I like to start a little low until I find out how my system is performing, and then I can go back up and increase that as time goes on. Finishes everything on the input side. Switching to the output side, the first step is clicking on your front input or channel 1 and 2 and make sure your input is correct. In this case, 1 and 2 is front on input, so that's the box we want. Select 3 and 4, that is also correct. 5, we're going to need to switch that. For this, we'll be using channel input 1 and 2 because the front 2 speakers on this are what provide the most amount of bass. And line out, we'll just turn that off because it's not being used for anything. Going back to the front, we'll set our high pass crossover here. Rears, we'll set those as well. And then subwoofer. The default setting on the audio control is 24 dB. For this setup purpose, we're going to be using 80 for the front, 100 for the rear, and 80 for the subwoofer. That's not to say it's going to stay that way. That's just a starting point until we start tuning to see what we're going to need to get out of these mid-bass to couple up with the subwoofer we're putting in the back. Going back to the front, now it's time to enter the delay. Just a side note here, when adjusting your DSP, try to come up with a pattern that makes sense to you. That way you don't forget anything. In this case, I like to label everything, make sure all my channels are where they're supposed to be, set my crossovers, and then I'll set my delay. The last thing we'll do after that is go to actually the EQ portion of it and tune it, but we'll do that outside the car with an RTA. At the beginning of the install, Fernando took and wrote down all the measurements for where the seat was located, as well as the distance to all the speakers. Selecting front output view, come delay left. In this case, with this person, it was 57 inches and 66 inches. The rear was 35 and 57. The subwoofer in the back is 82. This is a mono output, so there is only one channel output for the subwoofer, as opposed to when you go rear, there is two. And that is the first basic setup. Now it comes down to personal preferences and how you'd like to use the unit. Going back to front input, channel 1 and 2, when you look at output summing, it just has a master level control. If you scroll down to the EQ portion of it, you'll see here where it says 1, 1-2, and 2. This isn't a minus, it's a dash. If you select channel 1 or channel 2, that's splitting the EQ to driver and passenger, or channel 1 and channel 2. If we scroll back up to the top, you'll now notice where it says output summing, we have independent level control. The best way to see that real quick is if we go to 3, it's still set as 1-2, but we've split the front two apart. You can do this on any group of channels other than channel 5, because it's one channel. And this allows you to either do one master EQ setting or split them apart and EQ left, EQ right. For example, in the rears, it's more of an effects channel. It's just back there to make a little bit of noise to finish off the sound. If it's not doing anything obnoxious, you can do it as one. If you're noticing that it's not performing the way you want it to, or one is louder than the other, then you can switch it to 3 or 4, and that will then give you those level controls for right and left. If you're planning on just EQing the rear and then you'd like to do level controls after the fact, then leave it at 3-4, set your EQ, then select 3 or 4, and now you can adjust the level control without affecting that EQ. If you go back 3-4, this pop-up, would you like to copy settings from odd channel? Also, the lowest odd and even output level will be assigned to the stereo level. If you clicked yes, then you'll lose all those settings that you just did for both the EQ. The EQ will stay the same if you didn't bother to touch either one, but if you adjusted a left EQ and a right EQ, it's going to take the odd channel and move that over to the right channel, so you'll lose that tune. That gives us the basic setup for this amplifier. The last step you want to do is where it says memory, hold to store. Go to memory 1 and press and hold. It says, are you sure you wish to overwrite memory 1 location? Yes. And that will now push that information over into the amplifier, and that amplifier has that basic information on it. The next step, of course, is tuning. Amplifier has an auto feature located right here. That auto feature will listen to the sound when you play pink noise over it, try to add Audiocontrol's house curve to it for the electrical side of things. Not the audio side of things, the electrical side of things. The signal that we looked at earlier when we were checking for ANC noise, it will try to level that out so that it'll get you a little bit ahead of the game in your tune. To do it though, make sure you disconnect your speakers from the amplifier, which you can just pull the Phoenix connectors. You're gonna need a pink noise test track for this. We're gonna use the Educar Test and Tune app. Play the pink noise and you'll see the EQ here on the input setting. If you go to the output page, you'll also see it down here on the bottom. If you adjust your dB, it'll pop up. Select the channel you'd like to do it to and then press auto. Click yes. as you saw, it automatically just went to 1-2 because it's going to do both channels at the same time. If you select yes, now you'll see what it just did to correct that signal. There's limits as far as it'll go. For example, if you look at the 800 here, it brought that up 6 dB. It did that also over on 10K and probably, yeah, 4.8 on 12.5K. And this is an attempt to try to flatten out that factory EQ curve that's in there. This is a great starting point for the system. It'll do the same thing for the rear. Click yes. As you can see, that looks a little better than it did before. If you listen to it and you're like, man, I don't like any of that, select flat, and that'll shut all that EQ off and put it back to normal. And there you have it. After you're done, make sure to press and hold your button here, select save, and now it's burned over into the processor. If you'd like to try experimenting, that's where memories 2, 3, and 4 come in. It allows you to do some basic setup. We could store this basic setup on memory 1 and then store it over on memory 2 simply by pressing and holding memory 2. And then we could come back and select auto, yes, and put that EQ curve on preset 2. That way we can A/B between preset 1 and preset 2 and see how they actually look on a microphone. Or if you didn't have a microphone and you just wanted to see what factory playing into the speakers sounds like versus flattening it out. Being able to A/B between those two is kind of nice. And I can go back to 1. Now I have a flat, we can hear it like that. I can press 2, and we can hear it with the Audiocontrol electrical house curve. For right now, that's all we need to do for this. We need to do some testing on the car before we get to the RTA work. We need to do polarity, we need to check our balance and fader, make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm gonna close this app for now. Once it's closed, it's safe to disconnect. The blue light on the amplifier should not be blinking. Pull your USB out.